Aloha. Welcome to Return on Wellness, a web series brought to you by Olympian Meeting.
Hi, and welcome everyone to my first ever recording of Return on Wellness, the web series, the not a podcast, so to speak. I guess if you listen in audio only, it's podcast. I don't know, whatever. Either way, what we're going to do over the course of this year, it is January, is talk about how wellness can improve events, both the ROI and what we're calling return on wellness. We are all being asked to do more with less. So as we evolve our programs, we can incorporate elements of wellness to help drive that ROI. And that means a lot of different things to different people, but we're going to dig into it with a number of topics, and we're going to attack those topics from different angles so that we have different perspectives. And I got to do a lot of speaking last year, and the reason I wanted to do this was I had some really amazing conversations with some amazing people, and I felt disappointed that not everyone got to hear those conversations. So this is going to be approximately an hour long. There will be little to no outtakes. We're going to film it with a single camera, keep it simple, but we're going to make sure that you have good quality audio so you can enjoy it while you listen to it. So with that, I would like to introduce my first guests. Oh, I guess I should thank the sponsor behind this, right?
Yeah.
Olympian Meetings. They are footing the bill for all this. So when you guys get your paychecks afterwards.
Look at them.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
It's like rich friends.
Yeah. With that, though, I am joined by Liz and Nicole of the Community Factory. We'll have you introduce yourselves, go into a little bit what you do, and then we're just going to dive into the conversation and riff.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, which one of you would like to go first?
Well, hi, I'm Liz.
And
There
I'm
we go.
Nicole.
And we are co-founders of the Community Factory. We offer community as a service and community enablement programs for corporations and other organizations that are looking to grow and cultivate their communities of customers, prospects, and team members.
And we're having a freaking great time.
And welcome to our office where we have this podcast all set up. This is our first time hosting the podcast here. So thank you for
Yes.
coming here and giving us a minute to get this thing set up, because it took us some finagling, but
Yeah,
we're
and
here.
thank you for our friends at Worm Audio for these amazing mics.
They're fabulous.
We
aren't they?
sound good because of them.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. So without much further ado, let's jump into it. The reason I wanted to talk with both of you first is you took a lot of time during the pandemic and gave everyone the opportunity to participate in a study, which then you recapped, and I was fortunate to go to the recap event on a concept called return on emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I would love if the both of you could dig into where it started, how you went about it, just kind of walk people through the concept, and then we'll get into the conclusions and what came out of it.
Yeah. So it was during pandemic times. We were all kind of trapped in our one little locations, living rooms, guest bedrooms, wherever we might be. And we were kind of looking into the psychology of marketing and what really brought about the business results that people were trying to get from their programs, because we all had to think differently about what our programs were during that time. And we kept coming upon these studies that said you must evoke emotion in your marketing in order to drive brand loyalty. There was a famous Harvard study. There were a few others. But as we talked about it, we were like, but is brand loyalty what we're after? We're in B2B, and sure, we want repeat business, but we really just want pipeline and revenue. I mean, especially in that time, it's like, what emotions are going to make people buy something other than fear or scarcity, or what are the real emotions, right?
A positive emotion instead
Exactly.
of you're all going to die if you don't do this.
Precisely.
Because
So-
I can't imagine throwing an event that's like, you're going to die if you don't come to this event. Which you're going to feel like you're going to die, sure, but I appreciate that.
Do you remember that movie in the 80s with the advertising? There was a Metamucil one that everyone should take this or else you're all going to get cancer and die. And that was like the advertising for it. Yeah, we had Arthur, that guy. Oh, you got to go find that movie.
Okay,
It's fabulous.
we'll follow up with that.
Show notes.
That's the kind of marketing we didn't want to do.
Yeah. But we thought it would be happiness. We thought that was the one emotion. We're like, well, duh, if people are happy, then they buy things. Turns out we're wrong on that.
Not totally.
Yeah, not totally.
Not totally, but yes. So we commissioned a study. It was a year-long study. We did 4 virtual programs with a reputable, real, live research company, Alabreva Consulting. And so she created this entire structure for how we could create an experience measure what emotions were being evoked, and then track if the people that were in the experience did business together in several different cohorts, attendee to attendee, attendee to sponsor, and then attendee to host, whoever was hosting the event. So it turned out that there are 5 emotions that have to be evoked in order to drive pipeline and revenue for these business relationships to exist. And because we like to say that emotions bring home the bacon.
Well, before we get into that awesome acronym, I do want to ask, how long did the study run for?
It was 1 full year. So we did
Okay.
4 programs, 1 per quarter. So that gave us time to test the survey results and to really kind of evaluate how we needed to change the next event in order to get these results and have people pinpoint what emotions they were experiencing. And we started out with 12 variants of emotions and then kind of narrowed it down and changed them until we figured out toward the end. And then after those 4 virtual programs, we then started implementing it and testing it in person as COVID was kind of dying down and people were coming back to life in real live events. Then we got to try it and it still works.
Now, one of the things that struck me about this is I spent a good amount of time in experiential marketing, which now everybody talks about. I was in it in, I'm going to date myself, like 2005, 2006, that era when really people didn't even know what the term meant. This was an entirely new level of validation for experiential marketers because I remember my recaps. So when I talk about experiential marketing, the reason I got into it, I used to work in radio and I ran the street team. And we would get sponsors who'd give us stuff to like hand out instead of bumper stickers. And then I basically just, I ran the street team. And then the next step of that was running like a national street team for these big brands. And we would go into a city and we would take pictures and hand out samples and do all this stuff. And the only things that we were tracking were how many samples we gave out, how many people were at the event we were at, like those kind of hard metrics. Right. And then it was up to the client, because I worked for an agency, to see what kind of impact that event had on their sales. And that was it. And we never saw those numbers as marketers. So to me, this was, but the concept of experiential marketing, for if anyone's not familiar with it, is the idea that you evoke someone's emotions through an experience. And they have this interaction that creates this warm and fuzzy feeling that then is attached to your brand so that anytime they think about your brand, they go, oh, and they have this little heart patter.
Pitter patter.
Pitter patter, thinking about your brand.
Right.
But nobody's ever done a study on it and what the outcome is. So please go ahead and keep jumping into that. I just wanted to drill out a little bit because I want people to know that this is, people have been, and these are like, what if you go to Event Marketer, this is the stuff you hear, oh, we only had $1 million for this 1 month campaign, but anybody can do this.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I think that just before we'll go into the 5 real quick is the impact that this could have on your business and on events in general is just a big, huge solution on being able to measure it, which is really exciting because everybody's like, how do you measure the ROI of events or the ROE or the ROW? Like, how do we measure anything? So it is possible, which we'll get into that. But the cool thing is then if it's possible to measure it, then how do you build it backwards, right? And so this also works as a blueprint for those events.
And that was really the idea. I mean, when we were running Dell World or Think for IBM, any of these events, it's you can't see the ROI for years sometimes with these programs. You do this really incredible event, you hire these keynote speakers that you're spending millions of dollars on, you're creating this expo floor that's amazing, you have these crazy concerts, and then you have to wait on the salesperson to go put it into Salesforce that they opened an opportunity, and then wait multiple quarters for that opportunity to actually turn into anything, and then a year later you can go, okay, here's the ROI of that event. So how could we as event producers actually design and craft an experience with the end in mind, knowing exactly what we needed to do along the path that would drive pipeline and revenue and help the salesperson with their follow-up call? Because especially during COVID, no one wants the sales call after they watched some boring webinar because they probably weren't paying attention to it. But if you got the sales call after the world's first live shark dive on Zoom where you're experiencing it just like the divers are, well, that's a very different conversation.
That happened, by the way. You can look it up.
Yeah. World's first. That's our fave.
Might have had something to do with that.
Yeah.
So the 5 emotions, turns out, acronym is HAM with 3 A's. And they are
Hopeful,
active,
adventurous,
accepted,
and motivated.
That's right. So our 5 emotions, and they don't have to be in that order. And they are really, we just kind of view them as kind of 20%. So put them all together to make 100%. So it's just when you're designing your program, if you can evoke these experiences. So when we did the reveal of the results of this, we did an event in the Bahamas, and we kind of crafted it so that the experience people were having was evoking emotions along the way. So very first thing we wanted to do was acceptance. The moment they arrived at the airport, there's somebody there greeting them with pom-poms and a hug, and like they're there, you're accepted, you're in the right place. Oh my goodness, welcome in. That whole first day was about people getting to know each other and getting accepted into that kind of tribe, I guess. And that evening was the Junkanoo, where you feel like you're part of the bohemian culture and all of that exciting stuff.
I would say that it depends on the size of your program, but who's welcoming them at the airport is also a really good chance to get a surprise and delight moment. Because sure, it's one thing to be welcomed by somebody. That's acceptance. That's telling them you're in the right place. Come with me, and it's joyful and it's happy and and welcoming. But Liz was actually there at the airport, and so people were like, "Whoa, you came!" Like the person that was putting on the event, and to have somebody that's just kind of a staple, from the team that put this together, or a big person in the event, was a big deal, and that was so special to people because it felt like a personal pickup.
Mm-hmm. So sidebar, because we're going to keep things real on this. Mm-hmm. Were you originally supposed to be at the airport, or were you supposed to be there but couldn't be there because you were stuck in your room?
We were actually both going to be there.
You were both going to be there.
Yeah,
we were going to switch out, take turns.
Or 4 pom-poms, not 2. But then I got COVID and was stuck in my room. Sad. But sad.
It was unfortunate, but we can talk about, I would like to revisit, though, the fact that we came together on the WhatsApp group and were texting you while you were quarantined in your room. Pictures and videos and the entire group. You still got to be a part of the event, but we'll figure out what letter that falls under, because
that's health and wellness right there, right? Because your mental capacity, when not only are you sick, but you're quarantined away from people in this amazing paradise where you can't even see because you have a parking lot view.
I'd like everyone to take a second and think about one of your biggest, most special events that you've planned. And you fly there, you do your pre-cons, you do everything. And on arrival day, your test results come back and they say, you have to go to your hotel room and you can't leave.
For 10 days.
Just pause. Think about how that would make you feel. This is your moment, especially your first event.
2 years in the making.
That was supposed to happen before the pandemic, then happened after the pandemic. Takes 2 years to plan. You're ready to go. It's fucked. Let's just say.
Yes.
Like I can't even imagine what the emotional roller coaster was like.
Well, I think the hardest part was I could actually see people arriving from my room. And so these were like my friends. And so it was one thing to see pictures and you'd imagine it and get the videos after, which was awesome. But I think that actually being able where my room was, at first it was like, oh, it's so sad. And I just felt bad because I wasn't with Liz and like all these things. So both of us were going through this traumatic experience. I was just by myself in it, in my room meaning. But after that, people started coming out to where I could see them and waving and at certain points. So that was really awesome.
Dropping gifts at the room.
And then, that was really cool. Food and then they all signed a magazine for me. So there is a way that I still felt accepted and in the event, even though we had to move around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want people who are planners to think about the fact that most of us have never had to experience that. And that is, ooh. That's the first thing I thought was like, oh my God, I can't imagine planning all of this and then being stuck in my room. That is some mental perseverance to get through.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we have one of the A's, right?
Okay, yes. So we have acceptance.
We have acceptance.
Yeah, so day 2, we really focused on adventure and active. And the active part was not only actually walking around the places that we needed to go and taking some of the activities and getting to enjoy the beach, because we flipped the entire agenda on its head when we crafted this. So instead of flying you to a beautiful location and then trapping you in a room all day telling you, oh, you'll get to see the beach at night, instead we did sessions in the morning and at night and let the day unfold so that people could have some experiences that we had planned, or if people wanted to go do stuff on their own, they could do that too. But so the adventure part was letting people swim with dolphins dolphins or stingrays as we did, or we had the bomb squad for the Atlantis. Actually, all the dogs came out and they did a whole dog bomb squad show thing for us that was amazing. And then the active part, we are really well known for our sticky note spontaneous think tanks. So that's getting people involved in what the content's going to be. So having an active part of what you're going to talk about and not just reading an agenda, sitting in a room all day, and that's your event.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't work with the analogy or the acronym, but that's another, I would call that almost code word for engagement. Mm-hmm. Everyone's struggling. How do we get people engaged? How do we get people to pay attention? How do we get people to stay engaged, et cetera, et cetera? When people are a part of the agenda, and obviously this isn't necessarily a one size fits all for everyone, mm-hmm. but I'm curious though, I'm going to ask you this as I'm looking at a pile of sticky notes that actually are sitting over there that are notoriously famous. We're going to divert just for to put you on the spot. Let's say you're planning a sales kickoff. Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season, and the executive team has dictated what they want their ridiculous agenda to be. We'll mm-hmm. dig into breaking up agendas on another episode. How could you create that active element? Because specifically we were talking about the sticky notes and agenda. That's how you guys did it. Do you have any recommendations on how people could help people be, or does active mean active in any way? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I articulated that properly. Yes. You getting what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The executive team is like, no, we're not doing the sticky note thing. Right. And you're like, okay, what would your next idea be for helping people feel active in the content?
Mm-hmm. I think, well, there is two ways to look at it. And the whole thing is, as somebody who's putting together any kind of experience, you need to be thinking, what are my attendees experiencing at this moment? And what does my messaging out to them mean? So I think when you bring up the word active, I think of it in two ways. And who knows what most people will think. I think when you say active, they're going to be thinking about physically active. So is there something, that they could do in the morning? There's a million ideas for how to get them physically active. What I think would change the way that they approach the event and how they interact and how they even go to be physically active is how you involve them in creating the content. So I would say the first big thing would be to tell them that engagement and activity in creating what that content is not a survey. That is not asking them what they think and going, okay, that's nice. Because when you ask somebody what they think, they expect you to do something with it. You're active when it comes to the content part as somebody who's putting together the event needs to be doing something with the information that you're asking of them at any point. And having it more fun in the way you ask them is one thing. So activity in the content, that's how when we talk about have them being active participants, that's what we mean with it. And we suggest other people do. And then active, there needs to be things that are designed, and what we mean here is physically active, and what are those different kind of opportunities. But even looking at active as far as what are you doing during this session? Where is it at? Could it be a walking session where you're just like, we're going to walk laps around the hotel or whatever it is, and you are the best person in the world to think of the ways to plug that in. But so I would say when it comes to being active, it's how is that word going to resonate with the attendees, and then you have to do something active about how you speak to that and the opportunities you provide at the event around it.
We went to a great event this summer that they had set up the keynote room to have little living rooms. So there were vignettes of a couch and a couple of chairs. And so everybody came in and sat in these little living room pods. And so the keynote speakers, it was a lot of keynotes, but in each keynote, there was the however much time they spoke broken up by, okay, now in your group, discuss this question. And then they would introduce the next keynote and they would come on. And so it was this breaking up. Yes, you're still trapped in this room and you don't have the white space that I would prefer you have, but the white space they gave us allowed us to really get to know the people in our little pod, have great conversations, and really become, friends in that day of keynoting before we then went out and did other things together. So that was a cool way to break it up.
You mean they gave people time to discuss and absorb the information?
They actually did. It was
shocking.
Incredible.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's groundbreaking, unfortunately.
I know. But if you're not going to do sticky notes, if you can at least give this directed conversation option, because if you're just in rows and rows and rows and rows and you go, now talk to the person next to you, that's not the same feel. That's not active. Right. That's, that's that moment in church where you shake hands and then you go right back to listening to the sermon, right?
Yeah.
And also networking happy hours are not active. Mm-mm. They're terrible and need to be redefined in general. But saying, throwing a bunch of people in a room where the music's too loud with a bunch of alcohol and saying those are your options, go talk to each other. That's letting them, that's almost like you go from having this regimented minute by minute agenda to no rules and expecting, that both kinds of people are good in both scenarios. And so you've given them both extremes and no middle.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this whole platform is soapbox, so you don't feel like you have to step down off it. You can rant as much as you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate networking events.
Okay.
I'm an extrovert and I go late and leave early.
Yep. Fair enough. Okay, so we have acceptance. Mm-hmm. We have active. Mm-hmm. What's our next?
We did adventure.
We did adventure. Mm-hmm. With the experiences that people haven't done before.
Yeah.
And that can be different things to different people. Mm-hmm. And usually, I think quite honestly, when you offer people an opportunity to engage with something, there's kind of two parts of there. I think there's two types of people. I've done that. I haven't done this. I don't know what it is. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I've done that. I don't know what that is. It scares the hell out of me. I'm going to go do this one again because I enjoy it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Either way, they're happy.
Right.
Because they get what they want. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have our A's. Yep. We have the meat in the middle of this ham sandwich. So we want to do top slice or bottom slice? Or
we're going to do them together.
Okay.
Yeah. So hope and motivation being the other two, and really focusing on both of those toward the end of the event. Hope that there will be a better tomorrow, and especially the time that we released this. This was January of 22, right? So that was just the beginning of last year that this happened. We were really feeling like maybe we're coming out of COVID, but we had just gotten hit with another wave of Omicron and all these things, but having hope that people were thinking about a future of in-person events again, that we were actually together at an in-person event. That was extremely hopeful. Mm-hmm. And then the motivation of, I really had some great conversations that I got to help curate, be a part of, and sometimes even lead. And now I am motivated to go use these connections that I made and all the information that I gained to do something for the greater good.
And even just looking at motivated as the framework and the way that we put the event together, the fact that we were able to use our experience to show them a different way of just having the sessions in the evening, and what happens if you let people bond first and experience this amazing location. Like now imagine your partner relationships, right? The destination, the hotels, everybody's going to love you because they're not second choice. Mm-hmm. They're first choice. Let's experience this amazing adventure together. And then they're motivated to now try maybe some different formats and different ways, which I loved.
And what I think is so valuable about coming up with this, what we call return on emotion, knowing how to use these 5 emotions, is most of us in B2B are crafting events for our customers so we can sell more to them. That is the intent of our event, right?
No. Marketing's budget's just to spend.
Right. Which is different from...
Said no one ever that kept their job.
I'm going to work for your company. Which is a little bit different from a lot of the association events that are out there, which are really for continuing education, training, all of this classroom style learning. But then those association events are funded by bringing suppliers together with the brands in whatever industry you're in. So again, you're crafting an experience for people to sell to each other. So if you know going in that you can build out an event with these 5 emotions being evoked, then everybody is going to not only have an incredible, amazing, wonderful time, but the environment is right for the connections to happen that's going to drive pipeline and revenue, because that's the actual intent of it all.
Yeah.
And you quantified this.
We did.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
And because and full disclosure, I might have been the first person to use this survey. Was I?
You were.
Okay. All right.
Oh, he needs like one of those little badges.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to let you talk about the survey and how you worked out how to quantify essentially the likelihood to buy for this.
Yeah, so I mean, I certainly take no credit. It was the firm that we hired to do all of this research who figured out the numbers, because I don't do regression analysis, blah, 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 whatever that stuff is.
You only get credit if you put your name on it. Our name's on it.
So
I'm less humble.
So the questions, once we identified what the 5 emotions were that we were trying to evoke, then the question became, how do you measure it? And so putting them against their opposite and asking participants at the end of the event how they felt on the scale. So from hopeless to hopeful, from hesitant to adventurous, from passive to active, from rejected to accepted, and from uninspired to motivated. Putting that on a 10-point scale, where are you? And so what she did was take a look at all of the experience that people had had with partners, sponsors, and peers, identify which ones had done business together at the end of this year-long quarterly program, and then see where they ranked at the end of each program on the scale. And it turned out that the number was 8.6 as an aggregate number or average number across all 5 of those. So if you scored 8.6 or higher in your self-reporting of your experience, you are more likely to have done business with somebody that you experienced it with. So a little bit below that number, and it doesn't mean you're not going to make a sale. It just means that that's feedback for the event team to figure out, okay, what do we need to tweak for next time? Or if you're actually looking individually at people's responses, if you've decided to do it that way and you see that this one particular person felt that it was not nearly adventurous enough for them, well, heck, now maybe that's something the salesperson needs to take that person out to fly fishing trip or something, because you now understand their level of adventure compared to, compared to what you built out for them. So normally we would look at these as aggregate, not individually, but it also still helps you, okay, I built this beautiful event and my acceptance score was 5. What did I do wrong, and how did I make sure, how next time do I make sure that people feel like they belong there? Because clearly I missed the mark on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So even with a range of scores, I mean, it's really, when you're talking about these leads, that's an amazing opportunity to get flagged in a like, it's not a software that made it up. It's just, we use technology to show you who to go and take care of. Mm-hmm. And that is what every salesperson's job is to do, especially now, is that's a completely genuine, they don't have to think of a line as an opener, or a way to connect. They just gave them what the answer was. Mm-hmm. I felt lacking in this area, or I felt wow in this area, and what a great reason to start a conversation. And that's what it's all about, is continuing two-way conversations. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I have a field event. Actually, I have a number of field events. I'm going to use this for post-field events. Mm-hmm. But what I used this for the first time was at my previous company, was for a sales kickoff. Actually, sorry, not a sales kickoff, a company kickoff. It's like a sales kickoff, but the whole company goes.
That's exciting. More people should do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was, we had a company kickoff. And then we went to a sales kickoff. We had let's call it a legacy sales leader, mm-hmm. who said this should be a sales kickoff. And then the engineers about revolted, which no surprise there. Then they wanted their own offsite. And so then the next year we did some great negotiation, and we were able to bring everyone to the kickoff together. Because also I still think that sends an amazing message to the company, that no team wins without the other team's help, and that we can't get there unless we get there together.
That's incredible.
But with that, we used it for an internal meeting. Mm-hmm. And we scored an average score of 9.4 from across the company. I think a lot of that, though, is just because we did it. Right. We announced it in December of 2021. Mm-hmm. I did a live broadcast from the venue to our weekly company all hands thing, and everyone was freaking out because we were just going into Omicron, and everyone's like, "But it's February, and we're going to Vegas of all places." And we were a data company, and we said, "Well, look at the duration of a wave," and we used the data to make the decision that we were going to move forward with the event. And sure enough, by the time it was our time. It was the Sunday of Super Bowl weekend. Mm-hmm. Vegas had lifted their mask restrictions. We had 400 some odd people fly to Vegas. Unfortunately, a large contingency from India couldn't go because their visa office hadn't opened. Circumstances, which was a bummer. But then we flew everyone in. We had 3 days. We completely rethought the agenda, and we actually replicated our previous online agenda. 10 o'clock start times, shorter sessions, things of that nature. And then at the end, we did this survey, and people just were so happy to be there. And I think I shared it in that Atlantis group chat. I was like, hey, we just did the ROE survey, and we got a 9.4.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, look, just do your events. People are so happy to just go at this point.
Right.
But I think that sheen is wearing off. So I think while we might have gotten a bonus 1 or 2 points just for it happening in 2022, I think 2023, there's going to be more events, there's going to be more stuff happening, and things like this, you really have to think through to create a compelling reason for people to even go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like the ultimate, before we said, we're all in this together. Everybody just wants to be together. But now there's so many people on that train that essentially they're like, actually, I don't want to be together with everybody anymore. The way I purchase is different. My relationships and the way that I use my time is different now. People really during COVID, got a sense of like, they do like their alone time and they, that kind of thing. And so they're not like running to every 30,000 person conference anymore because now for a lot of people, that's just completely overwhelming. That's one set of people. And other people are just like, I don't have to do that anymore. And then another people are like, I just don't want to go to something like that because it's not made for me. So now there's absolutely this kind of design and boutique level thinking that is all about them. Now you have to do it. It's almost just like it forced us to do what marketing was always designed to do, which is to create that relationship by, giving them things that makes them speaking like you're just speaking right to me and feel that connection. So now it's kind of like, oh boy, marketing meets primal instinct and human needs. Like what a more beautiful time that we're in right now. But I don't want to say it's for everybody, but not everybody will win because not everybody's going to approach it that way because they're going to stick with their old routines. And you know what? Those people are going to fall off. And the people that have grasped onto that and understand it will be the ones moving forward and growing.
Yeah. I just pulled up Julius Solaris, who is, what would you call him in our industry? A pundit in our industry?
Oh,
I'm going to say it intentionally just to in case he's listening. I'd call him an influencer
Okay.
Ooh.
Our influencer.
when realistically he's an analyst.
That's exactly what he is.
He's an analyst, but
Incredible.
now they call analysts influencers basically, or I don't know, like it's the same thing.
Both names.
Yeah.
It's some.
I like fun names. Yeah.
Well, what would you call him?
Like industry cuddlebug.
I think that gives a different connotation.
You know
than
what? He brings everybody together.
He does.
We're all like, yes, kumbaya. Now, whether they cuddle physically or not, I love to do that, but, and hug people. But not everybody needs to, but that's what he just draws them in.
Yeah.
Maybe we call him a magnet for a more professional name.
There we go.
Industry.
So he
Interesting.
posted something yesterday that I would love to read here if you're okay with it.
All right. Well, Julius, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll see you in October.
Perfect.
He's agreed to be on the show, so I think it's okay.
Spectacular. Okay.
Early plug.
Well, he put it on LinkedIn, so it must be public. The most effective B2B marketing channel? Events. Why do you think we attend events? Maybe it's me. I've never attended an event for official reasons. Learn, educate, inspire, network, and elevate. These words don't speak to me, but they are on every single website. Events that speak to my inner feelings move me to action. We don't say it, but we have felt one of these or more. I am alone. Give me community. I am bored. Give me excitement and fun. Screw work from home. Give me an experience. I am broke. Help me find business. I need a break from my family. Help me disconnect. I want free stuff. Show me the perks. I'm a big deal. Make it exclusive. I want to go places. Host it in an exotic location. My boss made me go. Keep me engaged. I want to show off. Allow me to speak. I need to sell. Connect me with the right people. I want to matter. Host the in crowd. You're not a bad person for thinking this way. Humans are not perfect. You know that feeling of they understand me. You can't really describe it. It speaks your language. That's what fantastic event marketing is.
Pulitzer Prize.
Right?
that guy.
Bravo.
Wow.
My man.
He should write for a living.
He really
You know,
should.
He should think about that. Julius, you might want to rethink your career.
Yeah, you should consider that.
Okay, so we have our letters. I will say, what is the significance and importance of sticking with those words
Yep.
in the survey, because I think we all, like, this is something that I had to struggle with a little bit internally when I put the survey out. They're like, well, what if instead of hopeful or hopeless, we put, I don't know, despair? And I'm like, well, I feel like you're kind of stacking the deck now,
Right.
as opposed to keeping it somewhat neutral. So, but obviously you worked with a team that defined these words very intentionally.
Yeah. No, they did. And like I said, we started out with, I think, 12 different words and then adjusted those along the way. But these were the words that the emotions that were being evoked. And so scientifically, she figured out what the opposite would be in a way that was, to your point, neutral. So it wasn't like despair versus hopeful, because no one wants to say at the end of the event, I felt
I was
despair.
filled with despair.
So it would definitely...
I mean, you might. I've been to a couple events that I kind of was like, oh my God, our industry is doing.
I actually have been to one of those as well, yes. But I think in the end, they're all words that end up eliciting the chemical reaction of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, which are the chemicals that create happiness. And so when we figured that out, Nicole and I kind of high-fived that we were right all along. It is.
What do you know?
It is creating happiness.
So are you drug dealers?
That drives, dose. So if you read Radha Agrawal's book, the creator of Daybreaker, she talks about dose, D-O-S-E. And what does her E stand for? I'm trying to remember what her E is. It's not a chemical. It's like the experience, or she added something in there to make it fun. So she's like, yes, we're dosing together, which I thought was pretty cute.
Nice. And that actually impacts, those chemicals actually also impact memory and people's ability to learn. I'm currently reading a book called Spark, and it's about the physical education system and how kids who, regardless of income levels, that are physically active, there are chemical reactions that happen in response to physical movement or activity. There's one of the A's.
There it is.
There you
E
go.
is for endorphins.
Endorphins, that's right. Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. So with that's how I'm going to segue this, because we are talking about return on wellness. So the idea is we're going to talk a little bit about how introducing elements of wellness can incorporate. You can kind of do two things at once. That's the idea here. Is how can elements of wellness deliver on ROE, and then you can potentially do multiple things with, I don't want to say less effort, because that always sounds bad, but like I said, we're trying to do more with less. And if you can do something that knocks out a couple of these things at the same time, then why wouldn't you want to do it? Right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, design your agenda knowing that if you've got ham that you're trying to put into the agenda and you want to, like, that alone is like health and wellness just with the brain, because it's all coming together. But when you go to a place like Atlantis, which is basically Vegas on the beach, right? It's humongous and you're going to be walking miles and miles.
By the way, I got to say though, for anybody who hasn't been to Atlantis, I expected basically that. And I was like, oh, all right, I love these guys. I'm going to go anyways, but I'm not excited about where we're going. It was, I don't want to upset anyone, but it was more Disney than any other theme park.
It is one of my all-time favorite hotels.
It really,
yes. I
it was
absolutely
done
love that
exceptionally well. Like, you see the commercials, you see the thing, and you're like, oh, it's Club Med, oh, it's blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah. It wasn't. I was very pleasantly surprised with the authenticity and integrity that they delivered that experience, just the property on.
Yeah.
So
it's spectacular. And when I say Vegas, I don't mean that in dirty Vegas. See, I actually really love Vegas, so I meant it as a compliment.
I don't.
I do. I love it. I got married in Vegas, and I'm still married to the same guy from there. I didn't find him in Vegas. I just got married. Anyway.
Elvis live.
Okay. Yes, I did have an Elvis at my wedding. Thanks for asking. Anyway, I just mean the distance. You know, when you go to anywhere in Vegas, you're going to, you think New York, New York is right there, but 12 miles later, you're finally at New York, right? But so as part of the agenda, part of that was we're going to move this group from this area of the property to this area of the property. And during that walk, there's going to be talking and conversation. And that's part of the experience they're having together. We're going to Dolphin Key and we're going to go experience the dolphins. What are we going to do there? And we're talking about it the whole way. So, you know, there's activity. They don't realize that they've actually walked quite a distance because it's part of what's happening.
Yeah.
Isn't looking at the other person and saying, when the are we going to get there part of like the community building experience?
You know, I feel like that's what happens when you form bonds with people in the trenches, which
Right.
is kind of the opposite of the design.
Can we
that's,
add
you know,
a
Atlantis.
C to the ham for commiseration.
That's right.
If you
right.
only, it's optional. You can
It's just asterisk.
So at every event we throw, we make sure something terrible happens so people can bond.
Yes. And this is a last ditch effort. That's like break if it's emergency. Give me some emergency. They're smart, those people. Wow, that was like a free commercial. Moving on for them. But no, I think that what Atlantis did well, that it would be amazing if all events did well, is they let their people speak. And they let them create the experience by personal experience, the way that they wanted to welcome us. The fact that it showed where they were originally from, what island they were from, if it was in the Bahamas, and then being happy to help you, understand where they came from and what's their favorite place. And it didn't always have to be on property. Some of their best and most favorite places were not on property. It's here's what we do when we get out of here. Oh, I'm in a band. You should come and watch me play. No brand lets their people do that. And so Atlantis, when you first look at it, it's a big pink hotel and you think, oh, I don't know. But when you get in there, it feels so intimate and small. And that's what they've nailed, that every event professional should grab onto and bring that into your brand event.
Yeah. Okay, so I talk a lot about the 3 M's. It's the easiest. I mean, there's a lot of elements to wellness, but I'd love to kind of go through those 3 M's and talk about how those could check some boxes.
Is one mucho sunshine, and should we move that curtain?
Nah, it's fine. I'm literally in the hot seat.
You are. Can you want to pull that curtain for him? Oh, not that one.
Just kidding.
We'll try this one.
Beautiful.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right.
We're live, people.
Hopefully you guys can still see me. So with that, the color balance is probably all off.
Totally.
Okay, so with that, the 3 M's that we discuss a lot are movement, meals, and mindfulness. Mindfulness, movement, meals, whichever order. There's 3 M's, right? M and M and M.
I like M&Ms and M's.
Yeah, it's
I
like
like
an
your
M and
M's.
a
Do
half.
your M's give me guns like that? Because, just saying.
That's
Well,
the
thank you.
movement one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, well, it's also the meals. Like
okay.
they're all codependent, right? So the question is, how can some of these elements check off some of these boxes as you think through them? If you think about meals, what kind of things have you seen done that would either promote adventure or acceptance or any whatever the letters? I'm curious what kind of things you've seen that bring that in.
The easiest and my all-time favorite is simply in the design process, meeting with the chef. Tell the chef what your budget is, what your objectives are, and let the chef be creative, because when they get to take what you're giving them and design something rather than you just pick off a menu and you end up with the same thing, they get creative and they get adventurous, and then we get to experience the love and the passion that they have for what they do instead of just picking the rubber chicken with sauce, cream sauce off of the menu. I love that the most, and I've gotten some of the most amazing meals at conferences by just letting the chef be creative.
So you're adding a 4th M, meet with chef.
Yes.
Which I will absolutely, and it's crazy that there's a lot of planners out there that don't even know that you can do that.
Right.
I remember I was planning an event, and we were going to be down in the 5th M, Monterey. There's lots of M's all of a sudden.
M's.
And we met with the chef, and I said, I looked at your menu, and I slid it away from him. I was like, what do you want to make?
Yes.
What do you want to be adventurous with? What? And the sales rep is staring daggers at me because they don't know how to price it or anything else. And they're like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, one of the things I've always really wanted to do is just down in Big Sur, like we can get all our own salt. And he started coming up with all these, and just from getting to use the salt from the location he wanted to use it from.
Yeah.
And they were a conference venue kind of place that had a large, let's say, national catering company who was their primary thing. So this broke all kinds of protocols, which was
Amazing.
my favorite way to
I
do
like to
things.
break things.
Yes. So yeah, I think the other thing is also being thoughtful about what you include in your meals, because if there's that person who, I kind of use these 2 extremes, but it's no different really than dietary requirements, right? Like if somebody puts that they have a peanut allergy,
Don't use peanut sauce on everything.
and everything is like cooked in peanut oil or like you get the idea. That person, the feeling you give them
It's exclusion.
exclusion, rejected, not a part of the group. Like, I've been overlooked. I don't matter. I don't count. Going down Julius's list, like you're checking all those boxes in the wrong way.
Right.
But the same thing goes for healthy people. And I think that's one of the things that gets overlooked sometimes is there's people who don't want to compromise on their lifestyle at home when they go to an event. And those people are usually psychopaths like myself, and a few others who some will be on this web
In a
series.
good way.
But like, we have to pack food
Yeah.
to take with us because we know our nutritional goals aren't obtainable based on what we're going to be served. And that sucks.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds elitist and everything else. I don't really care. It's my goals. It's what I want to do with my life. It's I've been introduced to a new term that's new to me. Health is wealth. And I want to preserve my hard work that I've done at home while I'm on the road.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my big thing when it comes to meals is I think there's a big acceptance. We have 2 episodes that we're going to dedicate of this series to food.
Yeah.
But I think that's acceptance around food is a big thing because it can really make people feel included or not.
Yeah.
Oh, when I used to go to, the little networking luncheons that you go to with whatever association you're in monthly, and they preset the salad and they've preset the cheesecake and they've, preset the pitcher of tea that's getting all condensated all over the tablecloth and all these things. There was a girl that I would meet up with at many of these things. And as soon as we sat down, she would grab the salt and just cover the cheesecake in salt. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, then I'm not tempted. I don't know why they put them here. I don't want it. But so every time.
And it's wasteful.
Hugely. But she's like, this is the only way I won't take a bite of it.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
a great
whoa.
idea. One of our really cool, if you want to kind of take what you're saying and, if you want to introduce.
It can also be adventurous. Food can be very adventurous.
Exactly. That's where it's just food is fun and
Yes.
food is adventurous. One of the ideas of we've always wanted to try it. So if you try it, invite us to your event, anybody who's doing this, is to put food in an apron with a bunch of pockets. Hello, partner opportunity. If you just want to.
This is my dream because you're walking
Yes.
around an expo floor and, they make you eat lunch during the expo hall hours, right? But they have that terrible place where you have to go eat it. But more and more, they're doing those, like the little shops where you can just go grab and get your things. So yeah, that was our grand idea.
So putting having different kinds of pockets, have all kinds of your patterns and your logos, whatever you need to have, but putting the food in the pockets, and then maybe you have different color aprons, like this is green's gluten-free. And now how cool is that? Just to be pulling things out of your pockets as you're walking and eating and discovering, and then having a trash pocket so you don't have what do I do with my hands and my
Wait,
stuff?
is your apron preloaded with food?
Yes.
And so you can just go pick the
walk
apron.
up, you put an
Yes.
apron on, you're like, I guess I'll find out what I'm at for
Somebody
lunch.
ties it for you, and they do a quick, okay, this is what's going on. I would love to listen to those directions, wanting to know what's in my pockets. And even though they're telling me, I still have to discover it. And now I'm going to move. Now I'm going to be like, okay, I'm paying attention to what I'm going around and looking at. And I'm also eating out of my thing, and I have somewhere to put all my stuff. It's just
it's a conversation
really cool.
piece. It's hilarious. It's
And be
fun.
like, have you found the secret pocket? No. What? And then you have, you got to have a secret pocket. But that's just a cool idea.
I'm already thinking about the other thing is, since we all hate networking events, you could also color code it that way.
You could.
Yeah.
Based on why you're
I'm enjoying my
Cat
lunch.
person.
Well,
dog.
everyone
Black
saw
apron.
Right.
everyone
don't talk to me.
Everyone saw those cups, right? That it was on the topics of what you want to talk about, and when you go to the coffee break, you pick the topic you want to talk about, and you walk around. Oh, I see you want to talk about data governance or
Right.
F&B or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you see people with the same cups, and so then you can talk to them about a subject. But you could do the same thing with the aprons.
Yeah, and
or-
if you did the colors based on, remember how I'm a hugger, I'm not. Right after COVID when they have the colored bands, I really think that speaks to what you show that you paid attention and that you've created an experience for everybody.
Love
Even
that.
if you just nail it at the lunch and that's all you can pull off, because now you're going to take that and everybody's going to be like, wow, the feedback was that we cared about them. You can't pre-sell something like that in if you're trying to change the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
But just take that one thing. Can we just try one thing at this lunch where maybe it's only with X amount of people, and let me show you what the impact is of giving people the power of choice and togetherness when and how they want to be together, and then bring those back, and that's just a huge game changer.
With food, we always have our 3 rules: is something people want, something people need, and something surprising. And so what do they want? They want food that's actually tasty, because how many convention centers have you gone to when you very well know that they're cooking with the same ingredients you have at home, and yet there's no flavor? How do they make that happen? I have no idea.
No, they have an extra ingredient. It's the
despair.
flavor.
Despair.
Chef puts a heaping cup of despair in it because he's cooking the same freaking thing he cooks for every other show.
Yeah.
And it sucks all the flavor
It's
out
a
of
great
it.
way to
Exactly
force
right.
you to talk to the chef, because if you don't, you're gonna eat it.
That's
Yeah.
right. So anyway, something
Don't eat
people
despair.
want. You want actually like flavorful food. Something people need. This is where the dietary restrictions come in. You have to pay attention to these things. Make sure there's options. And one mistake that I used to make as an early event planner is putting a vegetarian thing on the buffet. But who eats vegetarian things? Frickin' everybody. So everybody's eating the vegetarian thing, and now vegetarian comes through the line, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't have anything for me."
Yeah, because
So-
surprise, surprise, it looks delicious.
it is delicious. So why do we do that to our vegetarians? So like plan for that and make sure everybody has these options. Did you know if you made an entire meal keto on the buffet, everyone would be able to eat that too? So you don't have to work through the gluten-free and all these things. You can actually make a meal everyone eats that's going to meet everyone, check through all your stuff. Anyway, and then
Except
of
the
course,
kosher people.
so then we have kosher. But no, well, there's still keto kosher options. You can make these amazing things. So the last one is something surprising. So if you're going to do the ice cream break, do that at 10 a.m. Do the crazy waffle break in the afternoon instead of on the breakfast. Like, what's something ridiculous? What did we do? The bananarchy, where they do like frozen rolled bananas with all that's like, frozen banana pops or crazy fun stuff.
Bananarchy.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like
Bananarchy.
violence is involved in
Oh, they're
bananarchy.
fabulous.
It's violent bananas. That's fine, but they're good and they're freaking cute.
Yes.
And they're Instagrammable.
They sure are.
True. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have meals. I think movement checks off active pretty straightforward.
Yes.
I think one of the things that has always driven me crazy is you go to these shows, and fortunately, props out to IMEX, I will say, because one, I got to lead the class, and this is the first time you're hearing it. Only one person showed up.
Oh.
But we offered something other than running and yoga, because that's what always gets offered.
Which I
But-
can't do either, so.
Right. I don't go to those. I don't like to do yoga in public, and I only run if something's chasing me or I have to go to the bathroom.
Right. So there's opportunities to create acceptance by offering something different, and there's an opportunity to check off active by creating those opportunities. I will say something that because I said this is all soapbox. I just saw an event that happened very, very, very recently, like a week ago. I'm not going to call them out by name, but if you look at the dates on the calendar, you'll be able to figure it out.
Figure outable.
Every single workout class they offered, they charged for and had a sponsor for.
Boo.
Right.
Shame, shame, shame.
Yeah.
Like, you are offering people this, and the best part, they offered a HIIT workout or high intensity interval training. $40.
Insane.
$40 freaking
Use
dollars
your own body weight.
to use your own body weight. When guess what? An Uber to a CrossFit gym, $20
Yeah.
to get there. You probably get a free T-shirt
Yeah.
and ride back. Wouldn't even be $40.
Right.
Stop it.
It
T-shirts.
made me so damn angry because I was like,
insane.
this is excluding people from being able to take care of this.
What did the
potentially.
sponsor actually pay for then?
Just to see a industry association line their pockets like that really, really, really upset me.
And what a huge brand opportunity or marketing opportunity for the whole HIIT community to say come out and try this mini HIIT first try.
Adventurous,
I would've tried
right?
it, maybe.
It's adventurous potentially because you're going to go try something you haven't done. It's obviously active from just the very basic meaning of the word. It was a great opportunity, and it just. Oh my God. I'm going to be ranting about this for probably a full quarter because I fortunately get to be on someone else's digital event in February, and this is on the list. This should if you have a sponsor, there's no reason, let alone, I can tell you right now, a HIIT instructor costs no more than $100 for the entire hour. That's it. If you know how to do it, $100. You don't need to charge $40 a head to come to that. Okay. Any other ideas though when it comes to One of the other things, I went to a Smart Meetings event once where they did we're in Louisville, and they did a downtown city scavenger hunt with a group, and you had to walk everywhere. And I was like, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
The city gets showcased, so the sponsor, and like, how hard is it to come up with a scavenger hunt? It's time.
There was one we did at SEMA one year that was one of my favorite things, where it was out at the hotel pool, and you were given some pool noodles, some duct tape, some cardboard, and you're in teams, and you had to make a boat, and one of your participants had to get in it and try to paddle it across the pool. And it was so fun. And so, okay, so we're not talking exercise active, but the physical act of us trying to solve a problem, build a boat together, one of our people, bless their hearts, getting in the thing and trying to, like, there's just the cheering and the screaming and that type of activity, the endorphins that, you know, come from that. It was just a blast.
Yeah. And I'll say what would be really cool as people try and start offering more of these things. And an attendee actually brought this up. She said, I want to know what the requirement is for physical activity, because there's a lot of people that have like bad backs, that kind of thing. And she goes, like, for me to just do something more than walking, she goes, activity level wise, I can only really do walking. So I feel like I would love to be in these classes, in these groups where can we just go on a walk together? And she's like, but that's all I can do. And then I don't want to find out midway through that the walk is 5 miles long, and now I'm embarrassed and stuck.
Yeah.
And wow, what an impactful, like, my heart broke. And she said that happened to her, was that she couldn't go any further. And she goes, now I feel like I've ruined the experience for other people. Somebody had to stay back. I was out of my mind embarrassed. And she ended up, by the time she did get back to her room, packing her stuff and leaving, because it wasn't clear in the directions what, I think she was on a hike, and that she goes, I can't do the kind of hike that they were doing, and I had no idea that it would be that strenuous. So activity levels and maybe levels of some kind would be amazing.
Yeah, I think when we talk about active and acceptance, I think those two things really go hand in hand, because, and that's one of the reasons is I've always tried to basically offer 3 levels of activity. I've offered meditation, yoga, and HIIT, because it's kind of like a meditation takes little to no movement. Actually, you're supposed to be as still as possible.
That's hard.
Still good for you.
Yeah.
Find someone successful and figure out which one of them doesn't meditate, because you're going to be hard pressed. I've been getting a newsletter from Arnold every day. He just started this new newsletter this year, and he talks about meditation.
Wow. And
like, if you look around it, and it's not necessarily about any epiphany or anything you're having during it. It's about the fact that you're taking the time to be still and you're reflecting on things and you're thinking. So those 3 things were kind of different levels, right? And if someone wants to go on a walk, then there's that option very potentially as well. We did something where we asked Vegas is notorious for late gym openings. We knew we had people from Europe coming, and we're like, they're going to be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning just because of jet lag. And the gym wasn't supposed to open until 8 o'clock. I went on a rant one time on Twitter about this. I was staying at, I think it was Vidara maybe, and the gym didn't open until 8, and appointments started at 9. And I was like,
How do you?
I literally, I'm also crazy, right? So I was doing double unders and burpees in my room, which was miserable, but I was like, I'm not going to not get my workout in. And so then when our kickoff was coming up, we asked the MGM Grand, hey, can you open the gym 2 hours early? We'll pay you the staffing cost to do that, because it costs maybe $100.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's not like you're having the spa open. It's just a gym. It's just a gym attendant. Open it up a little, and people went bonkers because some people want to do their own thing. So let them go do their own thing.
Yeah.
So I think active and acceptance, and active acceptance and adventure really can go hand in hand when it comes to physical activities.
Yeah.
The last one around movement, that's what we were talking about. I think the last one is mindfulness. And I think that's another one where acceptance falls in line with that as well. I'm curious, we've all talked about event design and intentional event design and whatnot. I think one of the big things that some people figured out is that agendas need to be reworked.
Oh, please. Yes. Oh, sorry. Flew out of my brain, out of my mouth.
Well, and also venue choices and how you use the space. I mean, even if you've got tens of thousands of people and you've got to put them all in breakout rooms, you're going to be in windowless rooms, tons and tons of them. So how can you maximize natural light in the other options that you have, the other times during the day, and not just have people in this room with this terrible light where you're just going to be fluorescent lighted into death all day long? That right there, I mean, you can't be mindful. You're just trapped like a caged animal. You desperately want out. And
That's how I felt in May of 2020.
it's like, no, this is why people don't sit in the front row. It's not because they're afraid of the speaker. It's because they went closest to the door so they can escape.
That's why I never go in those rooms, even if they try and make me. I don't. I have to stay in the hallways because there's a big thing too. It's not good for your for your brain and your learning. And, you taught us that, right? After X amount of time, like you stop learning anyways. But I think even besides physical things, I have hardcore ADHD and I can't pay attention to anything. You put me in a dark room and I'm just going nuts. But so many people, it doesn't matter, ADHD or not, like, so you can't learn like that, right? And doing the same thing, not letting them move. Like, I feel like I'm in an isolation tank when you turn the lights off. I don't care if I'm with 1,000 of my closest friends.
I think the worst invention ever was the sanctuary seating that we all had to have during COVID, where you get like 6 feet of space, you're in a comfy chair, and everybody's like, but you're in a comfy chair. I fell asleep every time.
I do appreciate the time to check my email in the back. I'm not going to lie. And I turn my brightness down to the lowest, so I'm not like that girl, but I am. I'm just like, once, you'd send a few texts and catch up on your email. Now you're like, get me out of here. I'm dying.
Yeah, but the mindfulness and planning the agenda of giving that white space, letting people have serendipitous interactions, that's why people go to events, is to meet with other people. And then you book an agenda where it's hurry, hurry, hurry and get into places, and you only allow them to meet at the terrible networking event or the concert, even worse, which, I love a good concert, but that's not a camaraderie networking thing. That's a moment in time punctuation, and it doesn't replace the ability to get with people.
And even for the destination, think about if you're excited to go to a new city, say you fly in at night and you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to make some time to go out tomorrow. When you come out of your windowless ballroom experience and you realize that it's dark and you haven't even seen it, and then you're leaving the next day, like, how sad is that? So from a destination perspective, I feel like everybody needs to work together and figure that out, because I wanted to go see things. I wanted to get out of this place, put my content around the city. I'll go see it that way.
Yeah.
What do you think if people had like 3-hour breaks in the middle of the day? Like you started it, let's say you, obviously you'd have to do an early start time, but like I think one of the ways you can do this is you could start 8, go till 11, and then take a break until 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
It worked for us.
And then go 2 to 5. When did you guys do that?
We did that in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Right. So
we had some morning stuff, and I think
feels so long ago.
I know it does, doesn't it?
Well, because people were like excited to then engage and talk about, the content in the evening and have those conversations, because now they feel like they know the person, even if it's just their little group, and they know something and about the other person, and they're just in there to feel that sense of vulnerability, to be able to engage in the conversation. Or they got all their things that they wanted to do off their bucket list. They got to take the time that they needed. They got to take a nap. They got to eat, exercise, whatever they wanted to do. And now they're like, I am here for this event. Nobody goes to the events because they just, maybe they do now, but they wouldn't go to that event. They'll be excited about what
9 hours.
Correct. Yeah. Your company has to offer, even if they know, like, you have to catch them up on things, or if there is a keynote or information, now they're willing and ready to digest it because you've taken care of them first. Now they want to reciprocate, and people are grateful and thankful, and they know that you have invited them for a certain purpose. So tell them what it is and let them experience it in a way that they want to.
But I don't want to dismiss the idea that that you shouldn't be allowed to go into a classroom and learn something. A lot of events are about learning things, and we're actively going to learn. And yes, I need to go in a classroom. It does not matter if there's windows or not. I am there to hear the presenter. I've got my notebook, and I'm there to take all the notes and to learn all of the things. So when the content is designed for that purpose, and the people, your persona, because you've planned this event for them, and you know that that's what they need and want, and the presenter is presenting something that they're actually going to care about, that's great. Just don't plan 10 hours of that in a row is all I'm suggesting. Be mindful that people cannot learn after, like you said, what is that Microsoft study of what your brain on meetings is, you know, by the 5th meeting, you can't even count on your fingers anymore.
We should make that study like that. This is your brain, and this is your brain on
Let's
drugs.
do one of those
commercials.
brain suction cup things.
we have to figure out like we should just redo it with an
When
egg.
do you flatline?
This is your brain on
Like
meetings.
right after lunch. Dead.
This is your brain.
This is your brain on meetings.
This is your brain on meetings, and then you fry the
Yes.
egg.
We'll
Yeah,
do it.
that's perfect.
Yeah. Or just cricket sound.
Yeah, well, I will say I've had some great luck with doing activities after lunch because
Wake you up.
people eat. And especially depending on what you feed them,
Right.
you lull
Maybe
them
not
in.
so much pasta and spaghetti at lunch.
Yeah, like let's feed you a bunch of carbs and then make you sit so that you're
Right.
like,
That was a great soundbite.
yeah.
Yeah.
We did a team building activity that was Odyssey teams. It's the prosthetic hands. People lost their minds that we took 3 hours after lunch and built prosthetic hands for people who can't afford them.
That's so incredible.
And because they came back from lunch, they're like, what are we doing? Like, probably going to have to listen to another
Building
stupid
a
keynote.
hand.
And then they're like, wait, what, huh?
Yeah.
We're going to do, oh, okay. And it was absolutely adventurous for everyone in the room. They felt like they were doing something good for the world in general. Shout out to Odyssey teams. They're an awesome group of people, and their facilitators really, they even do a thing where there's a koozie that's like an oversized koozie, like for a tall boy or something, and they make you try to build a hand at one point with it on your hand,
Oh my gosh.
so that you can understand like what someone's day-to-day life is without a hand.
Wow.
That is really cool. And I
But-
don't like most CSR activities.
No,
but
it
that's
like
cool.
it sent the feels. That I think that's probably what got us the scores we did. But yes, after lunch, don't go into keynotes.
Please.
That's attendee attention suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about mindfulness, is any of this what you're thinking, or is there a different context to it?
No, I think there's, you can look at mindfulness from two different angles. One, you should be mindful about your attendees, right? That's all of our jobs.
Yeah.
And
That energy flow. That's what Nicole talks about all the time. You know, when you think about where is your attendee, first thing in the morning, either they are completely exhausted because you kept them up the night before doing some really late party and now you set 8:00 session starts. Now you got to think through that. But let's say you planned it appropriately in the morning. They're excited. It's the first day. They want to meet people. The energy's high. Why do you immediately put them in the dark room? First thing, is there that, can you do your CSR activity first so people start to get to know each other before you go put them into the content?
When we used to go, Liz and I, when we used to attend a lot more events than we do now, because most of them are terrible and we're boycotting because I can't do it anymore. She would say, look around. If you write that on the top of your clipboard, stop and look around. What are people doing?
They're
And
on their
what did
phone.
we see? On their phone.
On their phone.
Right?
On their phone.
Exactly.
And nobody's on their phone taking
And
a picture of
that
the
is-
keynoter.
Right. And that is the picture that needs to go in your debrief and say, this was our engagement.
hey, CEO, here's what everyone
Hey.
thought of your keynote.
This is what they were doing when you're talking. Sorry. And it's not that what you were saying, it's because this is what happened before and blah, blah, blah. So while you're focused on yourself and all you care about is putting information in front of their face, here's how they digested it. Is this what you want? Because if so, no changes. If not, here's some examples.
We got really fortunate because we pushed our start time out to 10 a.m. And by doing that, we started breakfast at 9. But by doing that, we let people address their distractions,
Get all the email done.
get all their emails done, work out if they wanted
Sleep
to,
in.
sleep in, whatever they wanted to do. We started late so that we could give people that opportunity to show up and be attentive because their distractions were addressed. They had answered all their Instagram messages.
Yep.
They had like scrolled their feed. Like they were all up to speed on everything. So then it was like, well, now what? Well, I guess I should go to work because they're there to work, right? But then like on day one, we took advantage of it and we had a opening video that my exact feedback when the guy who was doing the video, he was on my team, he sent me the video and it was a great video, but the music was like, it just wasn't there. And I said, well, how do you envision, we we were going to stream general session through Zoom, and then the breakouts were whatever. We recorded them, and then they were going to be on demand. But this was opening keynote. And when I think about opening keynotes, I think about a concert.
Oh, yeah.
And I think back to the greatest stage entrance I've ever seen, which was Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters at of all places, Dreamforce.
Oh.
It's very unlikely, I know.
Yeah. No, they do a good job at Dreamforce.
Well,
Runs it,
yes.
And their DJs in the hallways. They nail it.
But you wouldn't necessarily connect Dave Grohl, crazy entrance. But they did this thing where this was after he had broken his leg, and he was still in his like throne, and there was just this giant. I'm talking 200 by 50 red curtain with just their single logo Goboed on it. And he just does his thing from behind the curtain, and he's like screaming, "Are you fucking ready?" And like everyone kind of made some noise, and he's like, no. And then did it again, and they just, this whole curtain dropped. And he came out on this automated throne with a cast on his leg, just rocking out, playing the guitar, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, that's how you start, right? Yeah. Like there's all this anticipation. Let people express that energy and get it into the room so everyone else feels it. So we saw this, we had this video, and I'm like, and the idea was it was the entrance, like everyone was going to see it on the stream and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we're going to use this like when we come back for breaks. He's like, no, this is like the opening video. And I'm like, this music will not do. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, I want somebody to throw a fucking chair. Like, let's go. Let's do it. Like, you gave people their window. They took care of their distractions. They've made the time. They've addressed what they want to do with their own time. They're in the room. You got them in the room. Yeah. Now let's earn their attention.
Ooh,
earn their attention. And when I was working with the production, we were talking about lighting and going through it, and the audio guy is like, I don't know, it seems like it might be a little loud. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I don't want anyone to be able to hear the person next to them. It's a 3-minute video.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
People can they're like,
blow their ears out.
Well, but I was like full lights, full sound, earn their attention so that they're like, and this was the first time we had all been back together, right?
Yeah.
So catch them off guard. So they're like, for the people who had been with the company for years, they felt this feeling of we have arrived. We also had a 60-foot wide LED wall, and the video started single in the center. Yeah. And then the Brandon, thank you, you nailed it. He found this Daft Punk song, and it was this big drum solo, like in the very beginning. And then when the beat hit, the video triplicated. Oh, cool. And so it filled the whole screen, and it had been black the whole time, so nobody saw how big it was. And it was just lights and noise, and people were just like,
I'm alive.
Yes.
Oh,
and it was such well, that's not why I'm saying it, but thank you. It felt so good to earn everyone's attention because they were like, I have to pay attention because I now no longer know what the fuck is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing that is important to us. But you're right. People come in, and while it might be a CSR activity, depending on what it is, I think you can do it with a keynote, but you got to bring the fire. Yeah. And you got to not be afraid.
Come out on roller skates.
Right.
Something.
Shoot the
like,
duck.
I'll be honest, I asked for no one's permission to do that. I just did it. And people were like, focused because they're new at this point. You've caught them so off guard that and this is one of the things I think I probably took away the most from during the pandemic when we did the silly sack squatch thing is if you can catch people off guard once they finally, because they're only going to give you that first chance, right? You get them in the room and they're like, all right, I'll sit down. Fine. You yelled at me to sit down. You told me to shut up. The program is about to begin.
This better be good.
I finally shut up.
Bring it.
Make me stay shut up. And if you can deliver on that, you got them. Yeah. You got them the whole time because they're going to be like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And
you're like, I'm here for that.
That's right. And I think that's the excitement and the opportunity that all of us have if we can get it.
And that's ROW. I'm here for that.
Yes. Return on wellness. is fantastic.
Way to time us out. I know you have the clock in front of you, so that was really well
Thank
done.
you. I was thinking of that in my head before I
So that was a smooth transition. All right.
So I think that when it comes to metrics and measurement of return on wellness, the fear, the concern is I'm adding these things into my program because it's a check mark. And okay, I've got my 5K for the people that want to do it. I've got my workout and I've got my yoga. There, wellness, everyone's happy. But when you tie that to a return on emotion metric that has a scientific tie to pipeline and revenue, and you're using the ROE blueprint to insert wellness into those experiences so that it becomes a whole person that's getting together. Now you can truly measure, bring it together, and you've got a beautiful blueprint for success. So I think it's fabulous.
Thank you for articulating that so well. We're going to get into a few other episodes as we motor through this about where the real science hits the road on people's ability to learn. I think when people feel like they learned something, they're going to give higher scores on their return on emotion survey. We haven't done that survey yet, but there is a lot of science around the food you eat, the movement, what it does to the chemicals in your brain, as well as giving yourself the mental space to be able to process the information you learned. And we're going to get into that in future episodes. So
can't wait.
Well, I hope you're out walking the dog or taking a walk while listening to this podcast.
Yes.
So we've appreciated you being here with
It's
us.
time to go in and take a shower now.
That's right.
Because you stink.
Oh.
Not you, the listener.
Oh.
If they've been watching.
Did you just tell everyone on the inaugural episode that they stink?
Well, if they were walking the dog for that long, then maybe. I mean, I was just thinking about I need to go get deodorant.
Maybe they were skiing and they didn't sweat at all.
Oh, well, that's not true. I sweat more when I ski. 'Cause my quads burn. Another episode. Good
Okay.
job,
All right.
Dave.
Well,
This was fun.
this was fun. Thank you so much. I don't know what I enjoyed more, doing this or just sitting down and chatting with the both of you.
Always
Both.
fun.
Always delightful. And thank you for hosting me in your offices.
Yes, thanks for being in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for closing the blinds. And I would tell you what the next episode is going to be, but I'm a marketer, so
Okay.
Leave them in suspense.
yep,
Surprise.
you'll have to wait and find out. So, all right, thanks everybody. I
Thanks.
appreciate you listening.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining Return on Wellness. For help integrating these ideas, please scan the QR code. We sincerely hope you join us for our next episode of Return on Wellness.